Hello and welcome to GV Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geek First. I'm your host, Dylan Must, and I have with me the nicknameless Taylor Field. How are you doing, my friend? I'll say this, the Taylor of the Solar Empire. How are you doing
There, I
tonight?
love it. I love it. I'm doing good. I can't believe I forgot my nickname. Oh, unbelievable. But I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk shop with you.
Yes, very much talking shop. I feel like we have a lot of fun mini topics today, so I don't know. We'll see how this goes. We have a lot of little things to discuss, but I want to kick it off right off the get go here. Talking about some Ubisoft. Are you ready to talk some Ubisoft stuff, Taylor? And I feel
I'm
like
ready to talk Ubisoft.
that's your main domain.
Hmm.
First off, Star Wars Outlaws. Have you played any more of that? How's that going, or have you just after the review were you good and put it aside?
I haven't put it aside. I've tried to play it, but I've been like on the recap or recoup of from being sick, so it's been hard. Like I
Right.
tried playing once and I just passed right out. It's that point where you wake up after like you pass out and you're looking at the sky and you're walking against a wall of a building. And yeah, so I haven't been able to properly deep dive into it
Fair
again.
enough.
So I'm still exploring Tatooine.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Uh, Next, then, I know that you, with the Ubisoft Plus subscription, have been jumping into little Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and I am very excited to hear how that experience has been going for you. I'm looking at Taylor, and this guy has got a frozen camera. I'm going to wait for him to come back.
Am I present?
There, you are back. You are back.
Oh my goodness. Now you
All
were
good.
alluding to something there before I went unconscious, I guess, about something else Ubisoft related.
Yes, please tell me about your time with Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I know you've been jumping into that with your Ubisoft Plus subscription.
Yes, that has been really, really enjoyable actually. I'm liking the game a lot more than I thought I would. I'm glad I didn't buy it. I'm playing it through Ubisoft Plus. So it's turning out just to be quite a fun experience. Now there's different elements of your skill tree you can focus on where like you have survivability and like there's different things in the world like plants that can harm you, and you have to hunt wildlife and you have to keep your stamina up and keep eating food and whatnot, so you can do cooking. There's a whole bunch of different things in there that kind of make that that RPG kind of feel. And I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it being first person, but I actually really like it. And it's fun just to be kind of like moving around and you just get your bow and arrow and you're just shooting bad guys or shooting humans and whatnot and just kind of going through the world. The world is beautiful. Really, really love it, especially when it gets to be nighttime. Oh my goodness, it's just
Hmm.
gorgeous. And so when you go into certain areas that are more human occupied, certain things that are maybe a building that's really outputting a lot of gas or fuel and whatnot, and the area like the vegetation just decays around you and
Oh,
it
that's
looks
cool.
more like more just more gross and industrialized. And so once you clear that area, then the once you I guess destroy the compound, then the natural beauty starts to retake the area, which is kind of nice.
That's a really cool detail.
Yeah, it's just it's a lot of fun, and I would love to. I have to get to the point where I can fly my Ikran because I want to be flying
Hmm.
around, but I'm not there yet. I haven't been able to mount anything so far. I've just been going around hunting and doing little missions, but yeah, it's a beautiful game.
I also jumped into this game and played for about an hour. Uh, my first impression was, man, we're in this facility for a long time because at the start of this
Mm-hmm.
game, you are a Navi who has been, I don't know if imprisoned is the right word, but probably like tricked into like believing that where you're living is just where you're living. But then you and your crew. I honestly it skipped a lot of the cutscenes, so I don't know exactly what happened because there was cutscene after cutscene after cutscene. But you and your crew like break out of this place, and then just the escape sequence out of the facility takes so much longer than I feel like any other game would do for that sequence. I don't. Maybe they really wanted you to build up to that moment where you're actually in Pandora. But yeah, I was shocked at how many vents and I don't know walls and doors and random stuff I had to go through. You know, it is the tutorial stuff. It's like here's how to crouch, here's how to do a long jump, and so it makes sense that it's doing some of that stuff. But that was the first thing that was striking to me about it. But then I totally agree with you. As soon as I was out in Pandora, I was like, holy shit, this game is one of the best looking games just in terms of visual fidelity that I've ever seen, and just like really popping color. I was really impressed, and even just like the amount of stuff, the amount of foliage, and that you're if you walk through different flowers and stuff, like it will brush against you, like you're pushing it around, and like the physics of that is also very satisfying. So it felt like immediately I was like, man, this is a very living, breathing place, like with the plant life and the humans and the animals and all that. And so I was very impressed right off the bat in terms of just the visuals of it, and like even the game feel of it like felt pretty good to move around. And yeah, I was much like everyone else, like kind of surprised that they went first person with this game, but I think that does make it a lot more immersive. Typically, like I've been playing a lot of third person games, whether that's Star Wars or Elden Ring, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but like when I'm playing a third person game for a few hours and then I like hop into a first person one, I feel like I'm just whoa, I'm like immediately right back there. You kind of don't notice if you're on different nights switching between things, but going like back and forth, I was there in Pandora for a little R&R. I was right,
Little
right
R&R.
there.
I love it. I'm glad you got to try it out. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't. So I'll explain why I only played for an hour. So I get out of this tutorial sequence. I meet up with my friend there, and then the next quest is like go up this waterfall or something. It's like go up to this building up on this waterfall here. It's like climb this mountain, get to this waterfall. I'm like, okay, I kind of like how open this is. Like I don't have like a line on the ground that's telling me exactly how to do it. So I'm looking around and I see these cliff faces, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try my best to climb up this mountain. And I went some like wild route. I was using that like thing where you can kind of connect to that tentacle thing coming out of the tree and like zip up to the top like a little zip line. And then I was climbing around rocks. Some of it was like very janky Bethesda style climbing, because I'm like, this is not an intentional route, but I'm finding my own way. And it's very satisfying and very cool. And I was climbing for probably like 10-15 minutes. It's a fucking huge mountain. And at some point it's like, you have 10 seconds to return to the game area. And I'm like, oh no. It's like, you have to return to the quest. I'm like, what are you talking about? You told me to climb this fucking mountain. So I went and climbed this mountain. And so I tried my darndest to get back to where it was acceptable, but none of it was acceptable. It kicked me back to a save from like a while ago, and I was nowhere near the mountain anymore. So I had to like retrek all the way there. I'm like, F this game. Like, how I don't know what I was supposed to do here. Clearly it was not that, but like, how did this possibility not cross the developer's way and like playtesting or something? Maybe I'm just really dumb and went the wrong way, but that really bothered me. So I don't know. I definitely want to get back in there and like spend a few more hours with it, because I feel like I really only got like the most babyest of steps in there. But yeah, that was very frustrating. Is that something that you found in like the hours you've played, like just weird things where it's like it wants you to do a specific thing even though it's an open world game, and it's like targeting it's like really just hampering the experience if you try and get creative or do something out of the box?
I can't remember what the context was, but I did have that exact same thing happen in another quest where I was doing something or going somewhere, and yeah, it prompted me like return to the quest area, and I managed to get back into it, so that was all okay. Hopefully it didn't put you back on like the compound in the prologue or anything, did it?
No, it just put me back to where the guy was like sitting on the tree when he was like bleeding out there, kind of. So it's not a super far walk, but it was enough that I was at least for that night. I was like, I'm done with Pandora for this evening.
Yeah,
and I'll come back to it. So I think I will. I mean, my Ubisoft subscription that lasts for like another week or two, so I have a little bit more time to jump in there. Definitely not one I'm going to be making the purchase after my initial hour with it, but
for sure,
I was impressed with it, honestly, other than that annoying thing that happened.
Fun fact for you, this is kind of drifting off the Pandora train, the Skull and Bones beta, you remember when we dipped our toes into that?
I could never forget it, Taylor.
Never forget. Well, I thought, you know what, I'm going to download this as well. I downloaded it and I booted it up, and it actually carried over everything from the beta. My character was the same look, had all my stuff, my ships, everything like that. So, I mean, if you need to get back in there, your stuff's all
absolutely not diving back into Skull and Bones. That was a one and done for me. There are too many games on this Ubisoft Plus offering for me to jump back to a game that I played for 2 hours and hated like almost every second of it. I would happily jump back into Pandora for another few hours than I would Skull and Bones. So I won't be joining you on the open seas there, unfortunately.
That's fair.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you played like a few more hours of it, or do you kind of just jump back in just to see if your save was still there?
I was not expecting my save to still be there, so I jumped back in while I was waiting for Outlaws to download. And yeah, when I saw my character was still there and everything, I thought, oh, this is super cool. So I went in because I have two ships. I took my ship that's kind of, it can go into more of the heavier waters without taking damage. And so I went in there and went really far out. And I tried, I kind of got in over my head a little bit because there were some ships that I attacked. And then this whole fucking fleet came down on me. And I was like, panic fleeing out of the area, so it was a little bit chaotic, but I think they're on their third season right, and I think that's the third.
Oh
It's
wow.
like a huge, like, I think Chinese dragon style kind of
Okay, I
theme
think I
right now for
remember
their
seeing some
season.
screenshots of that a while ago.
Yeah, so I haven't gone back in since, but I'd like to try it again.
Yeah. The other thing I downloaded through that service is Far Cry Primal, which is one that I've wanted to play for years. I've had it on my wish list forever. Have you played that one? Because I feel like that's right up your
I've
alley in
never
terms of
played it, but it's up my alley for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so it's weird. Like Far Cry is a mixed bag for me. Like I really like 2 back in the day and 3 as well. And then all the other ones like 4, 5, 6, I've played all of them for a few hours at least because they've all been on Game Pass at different points. So even before having Ubisoft Plus, I was still able to jump in and check them out. And I played for like maybe 3 or 4 hours of each one, and just it was just not really my flavor of open world game, and I don't know why that is exactly. But Far Cry Primal has always stood out to me just because of the drastically different setting to it, of course. And honestly, like in playing it in the first few hours, it feels way different than any of those other games. So I think it's really only a Far Cry game in name, but like in terms of gameplay, like it is open world. I'm sure there's camps. I'm sure there's like some of the skill tree stuff is from those games, but really it's just like very surface level things seem to be the crossover there. Even the story is a lot less heavy handed because it's just like cavemen grunting. It's about like gathering land and saving each other, so it's
Hmm.
much more basic in that way. But I had a very weird issue with this. So when's the last time you played Oblivion? Have you played that in like last few
Ooh.
years?
Last probably 5 years.
Okay, I don't know if I'm guessing you when you wherever you own Oblivion, you have some of the DLCs or maybe all the
Hmm.
DLCs. You got the
Yep.
definitive. So when you like play Oblivion and you get out of the sewer area, and then for the next like 10, 15 minutes, it's just a barrage of like DLC updates of things that were added to the game of like, oh, you've unlocked a key to Frostcraig Manor. So here's
Hmm.
this. And then you exit out of that, and then like another prompt comes up. It's like, oh, here's this other DLC. Oh, a strange door in the Nibbin Bay. And just like this onslaught. It's like, come on, guys. You really like this makes sense if you were playing all these DLCs at release, every time you log in, ooh, one new pop-up. But it's like one of those things that just they kind of overlooked what like the new player experience would be like. I kind of had a similar thing with Far Cry Primal where I was going through the tutorial area and you're essentially hunting a mammoth with your crew of buddies. And so, it's teaching you to like crouch and like sneak and not make too much noise and throw your weapons. But there's no prompts on the screen telling you like what buttons are. And it's not actually telling you what to do. It's not telling you where to go. And it's like, it's somewhat open area. Like I'm sure you could stray off the path there. And I was like really confused by this. I mean, I could figure it out as basic enough, but then I got into this other little zone, and that was like a very small open world area, like very much like trying to teach you a few things before it lets you go any further. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. I don't have any sort of quest marker. I'm very confused here. Then I also saw in the settings there was a survival mode, which honestly sounds a lot like what you were describing with Avatar there, where it's like very much about hunting and like the mechanics are much more hardcore. You can die and like respawn, but I didn't pick it at first. I'm like, maybe I should get used to the game. But then I actually restarted like within the first 10, 15 minutes of the game because I was like, I actually think that seems kind of fun to try the survival mechanics in a game like this. And so I restarted the game, and then none of those prompts were there anymore. And so now the actual tutorial was happening where it was telling me the buttons, it was telling me where to go. And I'm like, once again, how does this kind of oversight happen where like this DLC shit is just being shoved down your throat and you can't actually like get through the opening, 10, 15 minutes of the game properly without this happening. So once that
Hmm.
happened, I got back to the area and then it was like actually telling me I was supposed to make arrows and hunt these beasts. And I can do that and then I can progress. So it made a lot of sense from there. But just one of those things that was very weird. It felt very out of time. This game's a few years old and that feels like something that would not happen in like a new 2024 game with like all the DLC. It feels like they would integrate that a bit better into your game experience. But other than that, it's been a fun time so far. Since I am playing on this higher difficulty, it's pretty difficult. Like I die really really quick. I have no upgrades for my character yet, so I really have to be sneaking around, whether that's animals or like other, crazy cavemen that are after me and stuff. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. It's nice visually as well. It's definitely a downgrade from Avatar. Playing like a lush jungle setting like that, and then playing Far Cry Primal is much more. The colors are much more paler. There's way less detail. It's a little more janky, which of course it's years and years old at this point. But I've really enjoyed the first couple hours of it there, and definitely plan to play more of that. So that's definitely one you should check out if you. I know you have a ton of games on your plate right now, especially with that Ubisoft subscription. And I don't know if you're planning on renewing that or if you're just getting the 1 month. But
I will. I'll do another month.
I'm sure you'll get it again when. Well, I don't know. Are you going to buy the new Assassin's Creed, or are you just going to play it through the subscription?
That I'm going to buy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is just I can't say no. It's beautiful. This has been a fan called title for so long.
You've been waiting for this one for a long time.
I'm waiting for this one. Yeah.
So that makes sense. But yeah, whenever you have some time, definitely check out Primal. I would love to hear what you think. And I'm sure there's more. I mean, it's not like cryptid stuff, but like mammoths and saber-tooths, like all these extinct creatures, which I think you would have fun hanging around with. I don't think there's like dinosaurs in the game, but maybe there's like some dinosaur type stuff that pops up later on. I'm not sure.
I swear Far Cry has put things like cryptids in there. I thought Far Cry 4 had like Yetis in there. Yeah, the Valley. Valley of the Yetis, and they appear in Far Cry 5. Cool. DLCs, zombie Yetis on Dead Living Zombies. Yeah, they've done a lot of fun stuff in Far Cry.
Yeah, they definitely have some wild DLCs for some of their games as well. I don't know what are really the DLC things for Primal specifically, but I don't know. I'm not nearly deep enough in the game to want to check out that stuff yet. But yeah, that's been a fun time. Speaking of Assassin's Creed, I had two questions for you. One, when I was browsing this Ubisoft Plus catalog, I saw these Assassin's Creed Chronicles games. There's China, India, and Russia. Have you played those, or do you know what's going on with them? I feel like I never heard about them until I was browsing through that catalog.
I think I have them all on Steam and my Epic Games account because they've been all made free at some point. I also think I have them all through Games with Gold. Because I'm aware of who the main characters are. Let me just pull one up here so I can just look at it because I'm pretty sure they're like side-scrolling games.
Okay. Would they be kind of akin to like the old Prince of Persia, or even like the new Prince of Persia that just came out? Like, is that kind of what the idea with it was from the Ubisoft perspective?
I would say so. I just don't have enough like my own personal experience to talk too much about what the gameplay is like. Like, I don't know if you can see this photo here. Yeah, characters side scrolling, moving around, jumping around. This is the Russia version, right. And they all kind of came out within the same period of time.
Okay. Were these phone games too, or were they just console things?
They were console.
Maybe they were handheld games or something, like a Vita type situation. Maybe that's
Vita
what the idea was.
Would have been more like what did they do? They did one for the Vita, I'm pretty sure, because they did Assassin's Creed Liberation. I think that was Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. I think that was the Vita one, and then that came out on Steam.
Why is it that you haven't checked these games out? They just don't draw to you in the same way that the third-person action does?
Yeah, they don't necessarily draw me in like the other main ones do. I have an interest to eventually get around to these, but I don't know if I ever will. I have two actually: Assassin's Creed 2 Discovery for Nintendo DS and Assassin's Creed Altair's Chronicles for DS. Those are some handhelds.
Are those just like essentially like a downgrade port from like the mainline games that could run?
I'd
on those
say
consoles?
so.
Yeah,
They're their own stories, but they're definitely downgrades, in my opinion. But they're still kind of cool. There's also Bloodlines that was for the PlayStation Portable back in the day, Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, and that one is actually pretty neat. That's definitely a downscale one, but it's neat.
That's cool. And I'm thinking with AC, there's Assassin's Creed Jade, which I think is that out now, or is that still to be released? That's like the mobile one, right?
That's the full, like, this is like a full-on main game, but for mobile.
Yeah.
I signed up for the beta for that, but never got into it.
Right. And that one's set in China, I believe, right?
Yes.
And then have India or Russia been locations in any of the mainline games or other games that you've heard of?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Interesting. I just feel like that would have been an interesting pull, maybe, just having these different locations. But yeah, if it feels like kind of a lesser spin-off game, I can see why the allure isn't quite there. But I was surprised when I was just looking at the Wikipedia, like how many spin-offs for Assassin's Creed there were. I didn't realize there was that many, considering they're like pumping out games on a yearly basis for all those years. But it seems like, and even in some of those years, I guess there would have been 2 or more games, just if you include the spin-offs as well, which is pretty crazy. But I think they finally settled down to like a good spot in terms of their release calendar. It's a little less bombardment, a little more quality focused, maybe.
I'd say so. Jade looks like it's being pushed to 2025. I think there's a lot of people that are kind of upset that they're getting a Assassin's Creed China released on mobile. But at the end of the day, I mean, mobile gaming is not what it used to be. People kind of have this negative connotation of associating like, I don't know, Flappy Bird or Angry Birds or stuff like that as mobile games.
All these goddamn birds.
Yeah, it's very different now. You're playing like full on. Like I remember I was playing Halo 5 on my phone like months and months and months ago just to try it out. But it's incredible.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. And then the other thing I was going to ask you about is, and forgive me if I did ask you about this already, but I had it in my notes from like months ago and I just forgot about it. And then I saw it. I didn't cross it out, so I'm guessing I didn't ask you. Assassin's Creed Odyssey and the story mode. Did I ask you about that? Like that DLC story mode thing?
No, you didn't ask.
Do you know what that is? Have you looked into that at all? Is it ringing a bell? It was essentially like a thing that community members could like make stories, like make missions and things that were like within the game. And they could like script different interactions, and I don't know how much they could build in terms of like actual world stuff or how it was integrated.
Quest creation tool. Stories. That's pretty neat. I did not know about this.
Yeah, you should definitely look into that at some point. I'd love to hear like if it's any good, if people made anything that the community looks at as like, wow, that was a really great story that you have to play. Because I don't know what the capabilities of it were in terms of like the custom tool set to it, but I thought that was a cool thing that I just didn't even know about until recently.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny. People are talking about it. I didn't realize this came out like 5 years ago. Holy crikey.
Yeah, I guess it was some expansion on Odyssey. Like I don't think it was in there at launch, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's weird. Like from what I know, I don't think they've done that with any other Assassin's Creed games. That maybe is the first time they did that sort of thing. I don't know how successful it was.
That probably is the first time that they're doing it. And it's funny because Ruben sent me Snapchats the other day. He was playing. I think he's a big Odyssey guy. He's still in it to win it. Which
That's
might
one of
be
those endless games. I feel like you can just put hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Yeah, I might be swoozing him into a Geeks Creed in the future. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have him on Sidequest do a Assassin's Creed discussion. Because I definitely want to jump into some of these games. Yeah.
You should get him as a guest on Sidequest for sure. He's got lots of games on the go right now.
I'll tell him that he has to tone down the puns though, because it's I'm listening to Cryptic Clues and I'm just being bombarded over here. Last Ubisoft thing for me. Where's your hype level for Shadows right now? Scale of 1 to 10.
My hype level, it's high, but at the same time, I feel overwhelmed because I want to be able to fully experience such like open world games, but I feel like I have so much on the go and it's so difficult for me to really commit to it. And when I look at Shadows, I know this is going to be a beautiful game. It's going to be a huge game and it's going to have so much going on. I think, God, that's where it feels kind of like almost negative for me, but that's my way of life, just gotta make time, whatever. That being said, everything that I've seen with this game looks beautiful. It looks wonderful, and my hype to play this game and be in this world is through the roof. It's just gonna be a dang good time.
So are you at a 10 out of 10, or is it a 9 just because of the time commitment on these open world AC games is just so intense?
Well, I'd go 9 out of 10 just because of the commitment that you need to commit to a game like this, but it's not going to degrade my I'm still going to buy this game. I want a physical copy. I want to play it, and so it's still up there for me.
Like I said, I'm definitely planning on subscribing to Ubisoft Plus again when that comes out and jumping in with you. I'm excited to do that. It's been a while since I've played Ghost of Tsushima. I'm looking forward to do some just stealth action in there. Well, mostly the stealth. I don't care much for the action part, but I just want to sneak around some bases, knock some enemies out, that kind of thing. I'm looking forward to that. So should be a good time. Let's see I have one other game that I want to shout out here in the games we've been playing sort of section. which is that I mentioned earlier, like Elden Ring. I've been back into Elden Ring Shadows of the Erdtree DLC. I haven't played it probably since like mid-July, so it's been a little bit here. I don't even know why I fell off of it when I did, but I just did for whatever reason. And I gotta say, man, when I jumped back in here, I was so lost because the last time I played this, Saris was at my house and he was playing on my character's save. He was just playing for a few hours. He just wanted to try the DLC out. And so when I immediately jump in, first of all, he plays inverted camera. So my camera's fucked up. My character is completely naked. All he's got is a loincloth and a fucking witch's hat that with like a blindfold on. And then I'm in this building that I've never seen before. Like maybe I was out of the room when he was playing this particular section at my house. And there's kind of like I can jump down into a lower area. I can go out this like elevator. I can go down the hall, or I can go up this ladder. So immediately it's like this is too much choice. Like I need like a linear hallway. I have 4 options here, and there are collectibles in all 4 directions. So I'm like, either Saris was just not picking things up because he didn't want to do that on my save, or he just missed this stuff. But I have no clue where he came from. I have no idea how he got here, and I have no idea which way I should be going. So it took me probably at least an hour to like get acclimatized to the controls again, figure out where the heck I am, where I came from, which way I should go. So it took me a while to get back into it, but you know that's fine. It's all part of the experience. And I was in this just huge castle. It's kind of at like the base of it, and it was good fun just going through that thing, just all these different directions, as I mentioned, figuring out every single one. Cool library area with these giant statues hanging from the ceiling, and you're kind of pulling levers to move them around, and then you're navigating, jumping on the back of them to get up to different areas. It was really cool, really fun area. And this is like the tower for people who played the DLC. The boss at the end here, his name is Mesmer the Impaler, and holy shit, it took me at least 40 attempts on this boss, probably 50. He was kicking my ass. Super, super hard boss. He has like a very brutal thing where right at the beginning, he just does this huge like meteor attack from across the map. So like right at the start, you have to get your reaction time down on your roll immediately, and then he explodes right away. And you can't just like double spam roll. Like you have to time the first roll to get out of that first initial attack, and then wait for like half a second, and then roll immediately to dodge the explosion. And even just getting that consistently, especially when I'm frustrated and I'm on attempt 30 and I'm bashing my head against the wall and I'm just mad about this freaking boss in my way, every once in a while I'd still die to that combo like right off the start, or at least get knocked down to like 1 HP, and then he would just stab me with his stupid spear. But it was quite the duel. I fought him for a while, got frustrated, went and explored some other areas, leveled up my character a couple times, and then came back to him again. He's such a freaking doofus of an opponent. He just looks like a doofus, and he has this stupid line, Taylor, where he's like, "Embrace the Mesmer's flame." Like every time he kills you, he spews out this stupid little catchphrase, and he was bothering the hell out of me. But I can finally say, after whatever it is, 40, 50 attempts, I finally killed him. And it felt so good. Muds can confirm that I was like popping off in my seat when I finally got the KO on him. It was brutal, but it was very satisfying in the end. The only thing that was truly annoying about it was he had a couple moves. One move is like just a flurry of strikes, and it's just such madness. It's like, I don't know how anyone is supposed to dodge this thing. It's just too many random moves at random locations. So that move, I couldn't. I think in the 50 times I fought him, in which he'd use it at least 2 or 3 times every time, I maybe dodged it fully once, and then maybe like was able not to die from it like 2 or 3 times. Like that's how brutal this move was. So when I saw him charging it up, pretty much just throwing the towel at that point. Like as soon as if he uses one move, I'm just done for. So that was really annoying. And then in his second phase, he's like a snake kind of guy. So he has these big snakes coming out, and they're just so big, and you can't see them very well, and they're just so flaily that it's hard to analyze what you're seeing and then like dodge properly. So it was quite the duel with that guy, but I finally took him out. And then that was like kind of the progress blocker for another area. I think he's one of the main bosses. So that I could finally kill him. It really progressed to like, it opened up a bunch of doors to go to other places. So that felt pretty good. So that was pretty good. And then after that too, I've just been going, because I found a couple other bosses and they're just super hard. So I'm trying to go level up some more before I fight them again. And one of the biggest things with the DLC is like there's this huge canyon area, and I've never been able to figure out how to get the heck down there. It's so far. You can't just jump off a cliff somewhere. You'll just die. But I just today I was like looking around all these different corners. I was like on the map. There's this little waterfall area that looked a little suspicious, and that was the pathway. It led down to the canyon, and so now I've just been exploring down there. A ton of new stuff down there, which is really satisfying. I think I have all the map parts filled out on the map now. So like not every save point and stuff, but just like the overworld like maps that you get. So that feels pretty good. And yeah, I'm really, really just totally invested back into it. And I think I'm gonna try my best to beat this DLC within the next couple weeks here, and just put it to bed because it's been pretty challenging. But it's been fun. I'm glad I came back to it here, and it was only a couple months, so I wasn't totally rusty. I still remember like the buttons and the jank of the game. So
Right.
yeah, it's been nice to get back in there.
Good stuff. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you got the upper edge on that guy. That sounds
Oh, God.
horrible. Ugh.
Fucking Mesmer, but he's dead now, and he's never coming back. He does not respawn like every other enemy in the game, so that feels good. How about we? Well, actually, before we go to a break, how about you tell me about a little game that you were wanting to talk about today? A little game called Sins of a Solar Empire. Tell me what was scratching your itch about this one lately.
Yeah. Oh man. So I did not realize there's a sequel that just dropped out of nowhere for this game. Kirkland mentioned it to me the other week. Now, this is a game. It's one of the games that me and Kirkland talk about, like Star Wars Empire of War, Sins of a Solar Empire. It's just one that we talk about that he never plays, but he wants to. He wish lists these
Right.
games. He waits for that sale. So
Yeah.
he let me know, okay, there's a sequel. I'm like, what are you talking about? There already is a sequel. He's like, no, this is an actual like number 2. So I looked, and sure enough, this is it. So originally the game Sins of a Solar Empire, that game I remember back when EB Games sold. EP Games was EB Games, not GameStop, but they sold a lot of hard copy PC games. You could walk in and get Halo Combat Evolved on PC and whatnot. And now that I realize this, I didn't actually get it from EB Games. I went to London Drugs. That's where I got it. That's right. So London Drugs had it. And so I went there and I just was perusing. And I remember picking it up. I have the hard copy in my office somewhere. And I was big on just trying to find like the next big space RTS. I was looking everywhere because I was super big in Empire at War, so I wanted to find it. And this game blew my mind. Have you seen it or played it ever? Do you know of this game?
I've not played it. I've definitely, I looked at some footage of the sequel here, but the only reason I think I know of this game is I swear when, 9 years ago when we did our top 10 games of all time, I'm pretty sure Sins of the Solar Empire was on your list back then as a top 10 game of all time. And that's the first time I remember hearing about it. And so it's just been in the back of my head since then, but I've never sought it out personally. But yeah, I did not hear at all about the sequel. I've not heard a single human being talk about it. So I don't know if it exists in some super specific niche, but it's pretty cool that, because that was like an early 2000s game or 2005? Like, what's the era for that first one?
Oh my gosh, Sins of a Solar Empire. I do not remember. I mean, this has to be, I want to say at least 2010.
Okay, that's not super
Oh,
old then.
2008. 2008. So, and then it came up with an expansion, and the expansion was Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion.
Okay.
And that came out a few years later, and I just assumed that was the sequel. And again, it's just a major expansion, so this is an actual official sequel. But
Yeah,
I
that's
played
like
the heck out of
16 years between the original game and this sequel is a pretty big time jump. Yeah, I guess as you mentioned, there's that DLC in there too, but that's a long time. But it's cool that it's finally coming back.
Yeah, I'm glad. And it seems like reviews are great. People are talking about how this is just pulling all the good stuff from the first one and deleting kind of like the stuff that didn't work forward, and just kind of really capitalizing on what made this game successful. A big thing too that's just wonderful about the game is its scale effect. And I did not realize this because you get one solar system that you're in, and you have your sun and your different planets orbiting it, and certain planets can connect to other planets. You have your skill tree where you're upgrading your technology, and you have other factions. So you're forging alliances, you're breaking your alliances, you're setting up like mining and trade and whatnot, building up your resources, and then you're building up your fleets. And the fleets can be small fighter craft to corvettes, and then bigger capital ships, and then like Rebellion brought in huge super spaceship units, which is really awesome. But what I liked about it was you can zoom out of your solar system and see that there's like 4 other solar systems that you can access, each with like 30 planets. And it's like, oh my gosh. So while you're building up and you conquer your solar system, it's great because you see your fleet of like 500 units going in.
That's
And
cool.
then after that, it's like going to another solar system. And once you go to another solar system, it's just like, oh, just open season again, just all out war. So it's absolutely crazy.
That's awesome. And it's hard for you now because you've played the game a lot. But how easy to difficult or complex is it for an RTS game? Because RTS games I feel like are typically pretty hard to either control or play, but also just like in terms of the inner workings and mechanics are pretty intense.
It is intense, and I think I only scratched probably the surface of it because there's a lot that you can do in there. My experience was just building alliances and then canceling those alliances and then just creating like scenarios of all out war and chaos. So that's kind of the extent. There's so much more you can do though. I'm pretty war hungry. Like I want to build up my armada and then go to town and destroy conquering planets and systems and stuff. So I have a very linear kind of path that I follow with my space conquering.
Gotcha. But is it kind of like Civ in the way that there is like other win conditions if you choose to go down other routes, or is it like always going to lead to combat in the end, like a typical RTS?
That's a good question, and I wish I had an answer for that. I really
You're
don't
just too war
know.
hungry. You've never
Just
tried
too
the
war
other
hungry.
ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Right on. So with the sequel, like obviously you mentioned that's just getting rid of the annoying things, adding some new stuff. Like what is the new intriguing looking stuff for you that you've seen on the sequel for new
What's
features?
pulling me in is just the fact that they brought back a lot of the super units from the Rebellion expansion, which
Okay.
is great. And again, there's the familiar classes too, but the main thing is just these new beautiful areas like planetary systems you're checking out, and just it looks like the scale of combat is a lot bigger, and I like how you can just get up close and zoom in and actually see the squadrons of fighters flying by and just
That's
watching
cool.
them. And graphically too, it's improved greatly over that
That makes
first one
sense. Yeah.
because it's been so many years. So that's just a blessing. But yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Like how for RTS, like is this kind of one that you'll be sitting down and doing a whole battle like in one playthrough, or is it like a multi-session thing where you're going to be playing on one save for like hours and hours and hours?
One save for hours.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, I don't know if you've sold me on it just because of like those part. Like, I feel like I would want something that's like I'd be down for like an RTS in like one sitting, or one that's like a bit easier. But this just sounds so overwhelming. But I don't know. I would love if you or Kirkland did a live stream of it someday, and I could just watch and learn. That would be really fun. It just sounds maybe a bit too intense for my current state.
Well,
On
maybe I can
RTS games.
download it. I'll download it because I think it's Rebellion's still in my Steam. So maybe I'll get in there and pop open an old save and maybe do a stream and get into the war.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking up what else this studio has done. Ironclad Games, and looks like the Sins of a Dark Age. Have you heard of that game?
No, I have not.
It looks like it was a MOBA, so like a League of Legends type game that they did after between Solar Empire 1 and 2 as like another thing that they had worked on, which makes sense that they weren't working on this sequel for 16 years straight kind of thing. I don't know if that's still around, if it was an online focused thing. Yeah, it looks like they shut it down in 2016, so that's been gone for a while. But that's cool that the studio is able to survive through that and is here all these years later with a sequel after 6 years of their previous game going offline. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Plus that Rebellion DLC that mentioned. So that's cool. I'm surprised if you love this first game so much. Like I'm surprised this wasn't just like immediate pickup for you, but instead is a wait for sale. I guess just down to the time element of your life again. It's like you really just don't have time for all this anyway, so you might as well wait for
Yeah,
the right
like
price.
I have the first one and I have Rebellion and I know what I have. I know I can get in there. Like I'm not playing it for campaign story reasons or anything like that. There's no characters or arcs in
Right.
here that's drawing me in. Like I'm just going in just to wage war and conquer space. I can wait for a sale for that.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, speaking of waiting for a sale, I don't know how this transition is going to work, but did you know that the best way to support Geekverse is to hit up our Patreon and subscribe at whatever tier makes sense for you? You can get access to episodes early and ad free. Some things you get months and months and months early, And some also exclusive shows as well that are worth checking out, and some retrospectives that are going to be up there exclusive as well. You can join our Discord. Always chat with us about whatever news or interesting things are going on in the world. Leave a review. That helps our show a lot. And in terms of other things on the feed these days, really just I feel like we're back in a TV show city where we have Penguin going on. Agatha's about to start. We're doing Rings of Power right now. Any other shout outs from you, Taylor, for Geekverse as a whole?
I can't think of any. I mean, we've done a few reviews, and we got a Joker coming down the pipeline. Big
True.
newscast this week. So yeah, I think Agatha's coming around the corner here. So that's pretty much it that I know of.
Yeah, sounds good. We're going to throw to a quick ad break, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. Taylor, tell me about this Call of Duty Halloween update that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so it kind of came out of nowhere. So, I mean, of course, not nowhere because we have usually the reoccurring haunted events that the Call of Duty does. The nice thing about this, though, is that it starts in literally 2 days at the time of this recording. And they're dropping Michael Myers in here right out of the hop or off the hop. And I was not expecting that. Now, we've had a few other characters in here in the past, like Billy the Puppet. We had Leatherface.
Ash from Evil Dead.
Ash, that's right. We've had other Walking Dead characters, and who else have we had in here? There's been a few. Scream, Ghostface. So
Right.
it's been pretty cool. But this time around, it seems like they've gone like through the roof with haunted characters because Michael Myers is included in the battle pass, which is exciting because that means that you could probably see like a black cell version of him, which would be wild because they have the regular battle pass for like $11, and then there's the black cell, which you pay an extra premium, which is ridiculous, but you get extra content in there, mostly cosmetics. Some stuff is actual weapons, but mostly cosmetic stuff. And those skins throughout the whole battle pass that you can unlock will have their regular version, but then they'll have like a gold black trim version, which is pretty cool. So Michael Myers might have that, which is wild to think about. I'm hoping he does. But aside from that, they have Norman Reedus, Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead, so he's coming in. So we already have Rick Grimes and Michonne, so now they got him. They're adding. Have you ever seen Trick or Treat?
I think I watched it last year for the first time after you and Travis talking about it.
So they're
Every
adding
year for all
Sam.
time.
Yeah, he's
Is
the
that
little
Arnie's
kid.
character? Oh, the kid.
He's the kid with the pumpkin kid with he has the lollipop with the bag over his head. So they're adding him in. Have you seen Terrifier?
I've not seen Terrifier.
They're adding Art the Clown, which is pretty wild.
Wait, I'm messing up Trick or Treat. What's the Arnie movie that you guys love so much?
Jingle All the Way.
Oh, I don't know why I confused those two.
Wrong
That's
holiday.
That is a funny mix up there. So okay, no, I've never heard of Trick or Treat. Then actually, I'm looking at this picture of this guy now. That looks terrifying. I am not excited to have that guy pop around a corner in Warzone map over here.
Trick or Treat is a fantastic Halloween movie. I know Travis would say this as well. Like, you should definitely watch it with Muds. It's a great Halloween movie.
I don't think she would be into that, but maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, Art the Clown from Terrifier, he's in there, which I think Travis said this first, but huge, because I'm pretty sure it's just I don't know much about it. I haven't seen the movies, but it was just a small company, small group that made those movies, and now to be at your third film that's going to be coming out soon, and you have your character debuting in a huge video game franchise. That's pretty awesome. So shout outs to them for doing that. And then you have, of course, Smile 2. The characters, you get two operators in there where they have the big smile from the movie franchise, which I think is like they paid Call of Duty like tons of money just to get
all the profit that they made from the first movie.
All of it went into Call of Duty here, to get that, which is just ridiculous. But I look at this and I just think, man, I like Michael Myers included with the Battle Pass is great. That's a write-off. And then you got Sam. Sam is definitely someone else that I want. I feel like Travis is torn between like Sam and Art the Clown. It's super cool. And they're gonna come with their own weapons too, their own killing animations. Sam has his lollipop, which he uses like in a killing animation, which is so cool.
Nice.
I just can't wait. And aside from that, you get some cool new maps. I can't see what what the names are on this photo, but one of them is called Mad Cow, and it's like a 6v6 map, and it's the whole thing is set up where like you can't see the actual ground, but it's like blood, kind of you're walking on blood,
Okay.
and it's like a abandoned cow factory or
Oh
meat
God,
processing
that's
factory. It's
disgusting.
just it looks super haunted and super crazy. And then the other one is like a old like clown drive through map. It's like nighttime, and it's like a fast food joint basically, but it's got like clown themes to it. It's looks
Okay.
so, like so much fun. And of
So
course,
nothing new on the map front for Warzone. It sounds like just
well, yes, Warzone Rebirth, Rebirth Island should be getting its what is it called? Purgatory. It's gonna be getting a purgatory mode, which I don't know what that entails, but the Rebirth Island will be like nighttime, like spooky time, which is gonna be super super awesome to play in.
that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Again, I don't know what the purgatory is, but they're bringing back the zombies Warzone. Again, that's just a classical, iconic thing. And yeah, there's a few other skins that you can get too, other characters. They got what do they have? They have Ghost, but he's got like I don't know if he's an actual unit that you have to kill in the actual zombie mode or whatnot, but he's like he's got one head and two other heads, and they all got ghost masks on them, so he's like a three-headed zombie creature. Looks
Whoa.
terrifying. And they got haunted guns they've added in as well. And then I saw there's a bunch of other miscellaneous Halloween skins that they've thrown in. And one of them, you know, those Halloween costumes where it's like partially inflated. Let's say like
Yeah. Yeah.
the inflated is like the alien arms and head wrapped around you, and then the alien legs are your legs, and then the inflated legs are just a human's dangling.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
that is? It's like
Yep.
in a weird conjoined costume. So they did that with one of the operators where you have a clown on your back. I'm gonna pull up a picture of it. You gotta see. It's something you have to
That's
see.
wild.
Duty clown operator skin.
It sounds like a lot of
just
stuff for one
weird.
season, like more than usual. Or is that like how many new things there usually is? And I'm just not paying enough attention.
I feel like this is more than usual. It really, really is. Because usually I mean, again, for a new season too, like they keep it pretty chill. I guess last year we got Spawn for Halloween. Gosh,
Right.
Spawn
And was Ash last year? Probably.
he was.
Yeah.
Skeletor was last year too. Uh, let's see here. Apparently Verdansk is supposed to be coming back with Black Ops 6 as well. It's a fun little thing.
Ooh, yeah, that's good. I think I'm due for a new map switch up. I think that even the night change for Rebirth will be nice, but I'm maybe getting a little tired of that one for the time being.
That's fair. There is another. They drop maps for. I think it was at their like COD Next or whatever it was. They dropped the map for the new Resurgence, and it looks pretty neat. Actually, I'm looking forward to it.
Like a brand new one, like not a rotation one coming back.
It's a brand new one. It'll probably be thrown into the rotation eventually. They like to do that, and I wish they didn't. I'd like it if they had dedicated playlists for their certain maps. Okay. I think I have it here. It took a bit to find it. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. This is ridiculous. It's actually in a little video, so you're going to laugh when you see this. Okay. There we go. Make sure the volume is muted. So this
Oh man.
Yeah, okay, here we go. So it's called This Is Fine. And you'll see him running, but it's
Yeah, that looks so silly. The legs, just the way they're so jankily, just having that physics to them, just flopping around.
it's ridiculous. And I don't know which head are you supposed to shoot. Like if I gotta go for that headshot, like am I shooting the clown head? Am I shooting? It
Yeah,
just
that
feels
could
like
be
there's
very
too much area.
deceptive and a bit annoying, but
Very, very annoying. This is an interesting skin. It's kind of like the stand up guy you talk to or when ordering from a burger joint. He's got like the microphone in there.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Little
But,
Five Nights at Freddy's vibes to it.
that's right. Then we got the last straw. There's no shortage of interesting skins that they do for Call of
Crazy.
Duty, but yeah, there you go.
Nice. And then yeah, the new one comes out end of next month, right?
Ooh, I'll take your word for it. I haven't been paying too much attention. I've been kind
Yeah,
of panicking about it because I see all the Omni movement and people are like praising it, and I'm kind of scared of
you're a
it.
purist.
Yeah, I
I
I
mean, I'm
don't
sure you
need to
were
be doing
against.
that.
Were you against sliding and doing these dolphin
No,
dives and stuff at first
no,
too?
I never dolphin dive. I don't see too many other people doing it, but I love sliding. I'm all about it. I'm not slide canceling like some crazies are, but yeah, it's like just I see these crazy videos of people doing like side jumping, and it's just blowing my mind. And then
Yeah.
I would like to experience though, like taking people hostage. I think there's a lot of fun with that, but I'm seeing some people just losing their noggin. They're getting super
Mm,
upset about it.
right. Yeah, I'm. I don't know if excited's the right word, but I'm definitely gonna be checking out that new one when it comes out. I still don't have Game Pass active right now, but I'm sure by the time that's coming out, I might resubscribe there. So that makes sense. Cool. Anything else on the COD front, or do you want to move on?
Ready to move.
Let's let's leave the PS5 for last. Let's quickly talk about this. So Annapurna is a game publisher, of course, as well as a movie studio situation. But there was this crazy news that happened this week, which is that Annapurna's Annapurna Interactive is the name for the gaming side of it. Literally every single employee from Annapurna Interactive all resigned at the exact same time. They just all quit this company all at the exact same time. Pretty crazy and unprecedented thing to see. Seems like there was maybe talks at some point for Annapurna Interactive to split off and become its own entity rather than being tied to, I guess, these other owners with the rest of the Annapurna stuff, and that fell through, which is leading to partially why some people did this. But then I also saw that maybe there's some like issues with like toxicity and some of the executive people higher up at Annapurna. There's kind of, it's a bit of a he said she said situation with this. But what we know for sure is that literally every single one of those employees left. And I mean, Annapurna said they're still going ahead. They're going to rehire. They're going to get a team set up again. They're going to get more people in the door. But this is a pretty crazy thing to see. For anyone who doesn't know, Annapurna is, yeah, they're a publisher, so they're not actually developing games. So no games have been canceled in this process, but they help bring the resources and marketing push to mostly indie studios making interesting stuff like Outer Wilds, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Cocoon, Stray, Neon White. These are a few examples of games that Annapurna has published, which to me is like whenever I see the Annapurna logo next to a video game trailer, I'm immediately a little bit more interested because I think this team had a really great eye for games. Some of those are just absolutely some of my favorite games from the last few years. So hopefully that kind of essence can remain. But if it's going to be wholly new people at this place picking these games and making these deals, who knows? It might just have to build from the ground up at this point. So we'll see what happens there. But it's a pretty strange thing, especially with the timing too. That I think it was just a couple of weeks ago that Remedy announced that Control 2 is going to be published by Annapurna, and that's their publisher going forward. So that's pretty crazy that a game of that scale just got picked up, and now this is happening. So they said that that's not affecting them at all. Remedy has said that, and all the or a few of these other studios have said that they're not really going to be affected by this in the long term. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't know if you have many thoughts on this, Taylor. I just thought it was an absolutely crazy thing I had to bring up because I am a fan of I don't know, this publisher. I guess like I think they've really made a name for themselves in the last couple of years here.
I mean, that doesn't happen without some behind the scenes
Yeah,
coordination. That's pretty crazy.
yeah,
And
definitely.
was there a reason for it? Did they disclose that they were unhappy? Was it like higher ups or something like that?
I think it is a lot of speculation right now, but I think maybe one of the main things was just that whoever the head boss was at the interactive side, they were maybe working on this deal to split it off and make it its own like kind of
Hmm.
independent thing where they could have more freedom, I suppose. And then that kind of fell through, and it seems like maybe in a bit of a shady way, or maybe they're being led on or something like that. And then this deal kind of got pulled out from under them. So I don't know what it is, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit and just like being on the side of those people who quit. And it seems like I don't know. They seem like they're doing a really good job over there. Like I feel like they should be given the resources, but I understand that there's when corporations are at play, it's a whole different ball game. So, yeah, it's just a crazy situation, and I hope it can uh, remain to exist, or I don't know, still be a cool, interesting publisher and help support these indie developers making cool games.
Hmm.
But who knows? It might honestly just be the end of it, and they say they're gonna try and make it work, but it might just not happen at all, and they might just fold at some point in the future. So
Jeez.
kind of a wicked situation. But I had to bring it up because yeah,
Yeah.
it's relevant. And then I think our last piece of the day here is that just last week the PS5 Pro was announced after I'd say like a month of speculation or more. I feel like it's been talked about for a while here, but the new PS5 was finally shown off. In the PS5 Pro, it has a new design to it, and of course, it's got stronger hardware in it. It's got more hard drive space, but it's also got a significantly higher price tag. And Taylor, with taxes, this baby is going to be well over, maybe not well over, but just over 1,000 Canadian dollars.
What?
Isn't that absolutely fucked?
Yeah. I mean,
It's like
okay.
950 before tax Canadian for this thing.
I have to compare what the Xbox price is to that. Like the Xbox.
I mean, I think the Xbox and regular PS5 or the Series X are like 600 or 650 maybe with the disc drive PS5, right?
Ooh.
Canadian.
Yeah, I guess so.
Throw the tax on there, so you add an extra, 150-ish, 120.
I think you're right. Series X2.
Because I don't think they've done a price drop on. Well, and I don't think any of the current gen consoles have had a price drop. And I was wondering.
No.
I was wondering with the PS5, with this Pro being announced and it being rumored for a while and people expecting it to come out this fall, I was hoping that it would come in at like a price point just like the same or a little bit higher than the PS5s, and they would drop the PS5 price, and that might be the time when I finally jump in and get that console. But with this insane price point, it seems to me like they're not really targeting this for the everyday person. Like this seems for like the rich ass people who have a lot of money or are willing to upgrade from their PS5, and maybe they can get a better deal that way from it. But I don't see them dropping the price of the standard PS5 at this rate, given the insane price point of this. But yeah, what was your reaction to seeing all this news about the PS5 Pro? If you even paid attention to it at all as an Xbox guy.
I mean, I think it was. I think it was bound to happen. You get the console, and then you get the next upgraded version of it. They've been doing that for a long time. So it makes sense that we're going to get something here, but at that price point, I just absolutely cannot believe that. That blows my mind. That's absolutely chaotic. I do like the look of it. Looking at a photo of it now, it does look pretty nice. Just it's mostly the same, but it's got like I'm assuming those vents, kind
Got a
of
little
shafts
racing
on the
stripe
side,
sort of
racing
situation on it.
stripes. Yeah, which is pretty neat. But I have to look at the specs here because there's the Xbox in comparison, Xbox Series X.
It's one of the things it has is so the base PS5 has 825 gigabytes of space. This one's going to have 2 terabytes, so it's over double. Factor in like usually like what is it, 50 to 100 gigabytes of that are like space you can't actually use. It's like used for software for the firmware and stuff like that. So, but that's great. That's double the hardware. So, I mean, I don't know how much a 1 terabyte or a 2 terabyte hard drive would be if you were, say, a PS5 owner who had the base model and wanted to get that better hard drive. I don't know what that would run you, but that's something you could factor into the price here, of course. And then the other thing is just like it's stronger. And in the way that they've shown that off, it seems like, a lot of games on the current gen, it's like you have your performance mode or you have your quality mode. And it's like, okay, do you want 30 frames and 4K and like ray tracing and all this beautiful stuff? Or do you want better performance, which is usually 60 frames, and then the game is going to look a little bit worse? Which honestly, I don't think I've ever really noticed the difference when I do the quality versus performance. I just always pick the performance mode. So it seems like what they're aiming for here is like every game, no matter what, is going to be at least 60. You don't have to worry about that anymore. But then you're going to have the option now on probably mostly like Sony first-party games for 120 frames. So I don't know if that was not an option whatsoever before on like a Ratchet and Clank or something, but it seems like now at least when you're picking between do I want 30 frames or 60 frames, now that decision is going to be maybe 60 versus 120, and then that same like okay, the graphics are going to be a little bit worse on 60 frames, but they're going to be just like or a little bit better on 60 frames, a little bit worse at the 120. To me, that was the main thing that stood out. Like the hard drive space and the frame rate are like the main differences as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, looking at what them not offering like multiple versions like the Xbox does, like that's interesting because it kind of forces your hand to either go with like the I guess the old gen is what it's called, or this next gen version.
I mean, wouldn't the options just be like the standard PS5 and then the Pro now?
Yeah, standard PS5. I guess their disc or their discless versions, and then yeah,
Yeah, which I
there's
think
the
is like a
Pro.
$50 difference
Yeah,
between those. I don't even know if they do that anymore. They might have like retired some of those because they at some point they released a PS5 Pro, or sorry, PS5 Slim, and I don't know what that changed. It's like a little bit smaller, I guess. And I
pretty
don't know where the
much.
disc drive. I think that Slim didn't have disc drive, and then you could like buy that as an add-on or something. And I think this Pro, I don't know if you have an article open in front of you, but like I don't think there's a disc drive on this.
I don't
Is
think
is
so.
one of the things as well. So it actually loses that feature, which is kind of crazy. And I don't think there's an option for that uh, to come with a disc drive. You just have to buy like the little bonus thing that you plug in USB. I would guess to if you want to play
Hmm.
your discs, which is too bad because I do have quite a few PS4 games, so that would be something that's kind of important for me to have is that disc drive to play some of those older games that I own already. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. To me, I just see this as like I feel like the market they're aiming for is the hardcore fans who already have a PS5 and want to upgrade this and then can like trade in their PS5 and get, you know, get this for I don't know $500 or something, or I'm just throwing out a random number there, but get it for a lot cheaper, relatively speaking. But like I don't see anyone who doesn't have a PS5 right now that goes straight for the Pro instead of just getting the regular PS5, unless you're just, Mark Cuban or something, and you just have like all the money in the world. I don't know. It just seems kind of anti-consumer in that way. It feels like they're boxing out a lot of people to even like. I would never consider getting this at $1,000. That's absolutely insane.
No, not even a Christmas gift. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. uh,
Yeah.
I guess 'cause I don't know what else there is to say about this. I mean, it seems like a solid version to have, but I'm curious. Anyone listening, if you are planning on upgrading or getting this, if you don't have a PS5, I'd love to know why. So please let me know what is the decision making for you. If you just want the best of the best, fair enough. But I feel like, man, if you're blowing $1,000, like get a gaming PC at that rate. Keep your regular PS5, and you have like good options there for gaming. What do you think Xbox is going to do for a next gen or like a pro version? Like, do you think they're going to do something like that? I feel like the rumors have been that they're maybe targeting to do a handheld thing like a Steam Deck rather than like a Pro. And I feel like they haven't hinted at doing like a Series X Pro version. And I don't like. I guess they maybe do need to. Like a lot of their games are being locked at 30 frames, which is really bothersome to me. But at the same time, I don't know what they would have to cost it at to make that worth it. And I don't know if that's what the Xbox fans want necessarily. But what do you think? Would you trade in your Series X and pay a few $100 to get an upgrade for a Pro version?
No, no, I wouldn't. I mean, I only did that once with my previous Xbox One to the I guess Xbox
One
One S,
X?
which the
Oh
S,
yeah.
which is like the white slimmer version.
Right, right.
Um, but that was still at a very affordable price, and the trade-in was pretty reasonable. I don't think I would, if it was in this type of price range, I wouldn't do it. I'm pretty happy with the console I have. And graphically, everything looks great. So, I mean, at that point, if you're getting a better console that can produce better results, then you probably need a better TV. But even then, I'm happy with my TV.
Mm-hmm.
120 hertz refresh rates, like 4K. I don't need much else. So,
Yeah, and I mean, like, How many games are actually taking advantage of that anyway? Like, as far as I know, there's Gears 5 and Doom Eternal are like the only 120 FPS games on Xbox, unless there's
mhm.
maybe this like some smaller one that I'm not thinking of, or like a simple indie game or something. But in terms of like Xbox first party, they can barely even get their games to run at 60. So like 120 is like kind of out of the question for a lot of them. And like I think I forget if Starfield got a patch to get to 60, but they even announced like Avowed is being locked at 30, which seems kind of crazy for the scale of that game. So I don't know. Maybe like, it would be helpful to have that, but I just don't think with how much they're already kind of struggling to sell the current lot of Xboxes and the Series S at its affordable price point. Like I don't see many people ponying up for that higher version, other than once again the hardcores who would just like upgrade, which like their pool of people who are going to do that is much smaller than Sony's, considering that what this PS5 is like at least doubling outselling the series consoles at this point.
Mhm.
So I think if they are in fact really working on that portable one, the Steam Deck kind of variant type thing. I think that's a great angle to go for Xbox if they do go that. I think that's a much better route than like a pro version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you pick up something like that? An Xbox like Steam Deck essentially?
Probably not. No.
You're not really gaming on the go these days at all?
No, the only gaming on the go I do is my Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. Which, like, when's the last time you booted up your Switch? What's the last time you played on Switch?
Ooh, probably would have been at least a few weeks ago. Mario Party Superstars.
When's the last time you played your Switch on the go?
Years.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I haven't used mine on the go much recently. Like, sometimes I'll just play like the handheld just on the couch or something like that. But yeah, very rarely am I traveling and playing it, I guess, just with my life. So cool. Any other thoughts on PS5 Pro or any other things you wanted to bring up?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me. Thank you everyone for listening. Next week, I'm very excited for because my two most anticipated games of the year are coming out both this week, which is The Plucky Squire and UFO 50. So I'm very excited. This is going to be a fun few days for me, just indulging in my highly anticipated games here. So I think Kirkland's going to be joining me next week because he's me picking up Plucky Squire as well. And yeah, excited to talk about those games. So thank you everyone for listening. We will see you again next time. Bye-bye.